Guys, let's dive right into Unit 18. And Unit 18 is divided into two subunits, Unit 18A and 18B. And just want to talk about the differences, want to talk about some potential, because if you've noticed, you'll notice further on in this video, the draw odds are pretty favorable for a resident and non-resident with minimal points. So draw odds are good, guys, but the barrier to success can be pretty steep. These units are pretty rugged. Access can be a little tricky. That doesn't mean it's a lot of private land, but some of these areas are kind of locked up. You know, 18B is a really good spot as far as public land goes, but some of that stuff is locked up for one reason or the other, and so you got to be careful. You kind of got to do your research and get in there ahead of time. And 18A is the same. So these units border some big pieces of private land, and 18A has a big piece of private land within the unit that you have to be aware of. And also to the north in 18A, there's a lot more private land north of I-40 and just checkerboarded state trust land mixed up with, you know, really just private land. So it's checkerboarded, you know, people own, you know, 1 mile of private here or a section, and then a state section is open. So just paying attention to that, and also paying attention to the court case that's going on from those guys that are going to court in for trespassing in Wyoming on an antelope hunt. It's like I've been keeping up with it. It's kind of going up into the court system, and been a lot of publicity. Go Hunt's been kind of covering it, and I've been sent some information along the way by various friends and clients and things like that. So anyway, 18B guys and 18A, there are giant mule deer bucks that live in these units, giants. The country, however, is not only is there some tricky access stuff, but it's tricky to hunt. It's very cut up. There's a lot of topography, a lot of junipers, a lot of cover for these big bucks to live in, and not a ton of real obvious places. You know, you got to really get in there and dig up these bucks, because these mule deer live very secret lives. These giant 200+ inch mule deer, and there are 200+ inch mule deer in both 18A and 18B, guys. So that's what I'm talking about. They live very secret, very reclusive lives, and very few people get to see them, including myself. So in order for you guys to be successful, in order for you to understand what it takes to draw this tag, number one, there is going to be hunting pressure. Okay, so unlike a couple other areas, there is going to be a lot of hunting pressure in both 18A and 18B. And there's going to be a lot of people driving around, a lot of people accessing the road. So the first thing is to kind of isolate areas that you're probably not going to see as many people. And I'm going over that in the map, and kind of highlighting some areas that are better places to start, a little less obvious. There is a little town of Baghdad, and that's an 18B, and it is a spot where a lot of people, a lot of pressure will come from that direction, just because that is the first kind of road highway you hit coming out of Phoenix, Prescott, all that kind of area. You can access it really well from that way. And then Campwood Road from the other way, which is coming down, coming across from the east over, and then access obviously from I-40 straight down. So I want to talk that's really specifically talking 18B. You really have to get after it. You really have to get miles on your feet and miles on your glass to really be successful on a mature deer. So the draw odds are good, but plan on working really hard. I wouldn't say the populations are crazy. So it's not like there is a good population of mule deer, but you're not going to see a ton of deer all day long. You know, in some units you will. In some units you can see a ton of deer. 19A, for example, you can see a lot of deer in that unit, and you may not see mature bucks, but it's a different style. I mean, you'll see the populations are a lot bigger in 19A than they are in 18B, but the trophy potential, just because of how remote some of these bucks live and the isolated country that they reside in, it offers a little bit higher trophy potential than the 19A or 20A or some of those that are nearby with similar draw odds, pretty good draw odds for minimal points. So take a look at what I'm going over on the maps. 18B, again, really focus on stuff that's not easily accessible with quad or truck. Specifically quad, you will have a quad ATV, UTV derby out there opening weekend, so be ready for that. 18A is a little different in that regard. Again, like I said, there's some big pieces of private land that are you cannot access. There is no access to this private land. So you got to be really aware and careful and know the access points too. So you may see a road on a map that looks like it'll say on the map, it'll have the little, the signage. It's like well-maintained road or whatever all the little keys are in the maps. And it's got a lock gate at the end of it because it's accessing private land, where in certain other units, you see that same exact road and or the same style, with the thick red line or the black line with the red overlay or whatever it is. That goes through private land, no big deal. But in 18A, you got to be very careful and understand the actual access. Juniper country, I will say, just from an overview, is pretty difficult to hunt elk or deer, really. And we're talking in 18B and in 18E, big time juniper country. It's just, junipers cover the surface area pretty well when you're glassing, and they can hide deer very, very well. They can hide elk very well. So just be ready to do your time on the glass and really be diligent in that regard. So understand that these deer, the bigger deer, they do need water, they do need feed. I know I'm stating the obvious, but 18A and 18B can be one of those areas where it's pretty rugged, pretty arid, not a ton of access, not a ton of water, not a ton of feed. So really you getting to understand and focusing on some of those areas first, and then moving out from there to where maybe a little less people will go to. So a big mature buck doesn't need a lake to drink at, and he doesn't need an agricultural field to feed on. He needs a little bit of each. So just understanding, in this year, for example, there's going to be a lot of water in some of these cracks and crevices that can sustain mule deer bucks for a long time, especially if they get pressured during hunting season. So focus on those areas where you can't just rip around and glass from the quad, and focus on some of those areas where there's a little bit more water tanks. Do your diligence, do your scouting. Try to get some of these bucks patterned before the season, even during archery season or earlier, and understand kind of where they're using to travel and water and that kind of stuff. So I hope the map helped. I hope the draw odds help you guys too, checking those out. Pretty darn good draw odds any way you shake it for a mature mule deer. And it's one of those units where you can hunt every few years and eventually learn it and be successful more frequently than just going in there once and trying to make it happen and get lucky. So definitely some of these units you got to put your time in and really learn them, and that way you can be successful year after year with yourself or friends and family. And hey, if you have any questions or any comments, hit me up down below in the comment section. And as always, I have my stuff linked in the description. Guiding, outfitting, drop camp, scouting packages. Hit me up anytime. I will try to get back to you or respond to you as quickly as possible. So good luck this season. I hope everyone that draws 18A or B tag is successful, and I hope you guys get after it and find what you're looking for. We'll talk again soon. 19A coming up.